Amaterasu and Sarutobi walked into the council chambers. Seated in the chamber were the clan heads, Danzo, Koharu, and Homura. "Sarutobi, we are so pleased to see that you survived," Danzo said. "Indeed," Hiyashi said. "Who's that woman behind you, Sarutobi?" Homura asked. "I am Amaterasu." Amaterasu answered. "Like the goddess?" Inoichi asked. "No, I am Amaterasu," she said, punctuating her words with a blast of heat. The council members gulped. "So, you're the real goddess Amaterasu?" Choza asked. Amaterasu nodded. "Yes. My siblings would have come as well, but my Otouto has a habit of killing people he doesn't like, and my Imouto is busy helping Naruto." "Naruto?" Sume said. "Yes. Naruto Uzumaki. Tell me, why are you all hiding his true heritage from him?" At that question, the elders' eyes widened, while the clan heads looked confused. "What heritage?" Choza asked again. "His parents. Am I really the only one who notices the resemblance?" she said, holding up a picture of the Yondaime Hokage. "Take away the whiskers, and you've got a mini Minato." "Yondaime-sama was Naruto's father?" Inoichi said. "Obviously. So, I take it none of you knew?" Getting nods from all of the clan heads, she turned to the elders. "It's obvious that you three knew. Sarutobi has already told me why he withheld Naruto's heritage, and, though I don't agree with him, I understand why. So, why did you lie to him?" she asked, glaring at Danzo. "It was to protect," Koharu started, only to be cut off by Amaterasu. "Protect him from what? Iwa? There is no way they would risk another war with Konoha just to get revenge on the Yondaime. Even now, they're still not at 100% functionality. There's no way they'd be capable of infiltrating the village, killing Naruto, and getting out without you knowing. Logically, it makes no sense. So don't try that. Tell the truth, and if you lie to me again, I will roast you," Amaterasu stated, ending it with a glare. The elders gulped. Sarutobi spoke up. "Well, answer her," he said, glaring at them as well. "It was to turn him into a weapon. In time, we would have turned him into Konoha's loyal demon, willing to die to protect us," Danzo said, not showing an ounce of remorse. "More and more, I wonder why Izanagi-sama bothered to make such despicable creatures," Amaterasu said to herself, shaking her head. "Anyway, I think that you three should step down. You are no longer thinking in the best interest of Konoha." "Step down? You cannot make us step down," Homura shouted. Amaterasu shook her head. "Maybe not, but I can annihilate you, and make sure that your soul suffers for all time. Pick one," Amaterasu said, her hands becoming surrounded with flames. Homura and Koharu gulped, then got out of their seats. Danzo, however, made no effort to move. "You kill me, and Konoha will execute you," he said confidently. Amaterasu rolled her eyes. "You honestly believe that? Konoha has no authority over myself or my siblings. We are a higher power. You are beneath us. You have 5 seconds. Make your choice." Danzo did not move. Amaterasu instantly set him on fire. His screams of pain echoed through the chamber. Not 10 seconds later, there was nothing but ash remaining. "Your power is now unobstructed, Sarutobi," Sarutobi smiled. "Thank you for your assistance, Amaterasu-sama. Tsukuyomi-sama is showing Naruto to his new living quarters, yes?" he asked, sitting in his chair. "Yes. It was quite interesting watching him bounce around when we told him of his heritage," Amaterasu answered, giggling. True to her words, Naruto had indeed jumped around his apartment with Tsukuyomi when Amaterasu had told him who his parents were. Tsukuyomi was currently showing Naruto around his family's house. It was large, though not enormous. Susanoo? Well, Amaterasu wasn't exactly sure what he was doing. Good. From now on, Naruto will be known as his family intended. Naruto Namikaze. Any objections? Not one of the council members raised their hands. Good. I'll make the announcement later. Now then, we should discuss our efforts to restore the village. Namikaze House. Tsukuyomi giggled as she watched Naruto jump around the house, examining every inch of it. Amaterasu had told her to help him where help was needed while she went with Sarutobi. She didn't know what Susanoo was doing. She just hoped he wasn't doing anything too destructive. Naruto-kun, it's been an hour, I think you've explored the house enough, she said, making him stop in his frantic exploration. I know, I'm just so excited, your Nisan's gonna train me. I'm the Yandaime's son, and I beat Gaara. I feel amazing, he said excitedly. Tsukuyomi giggled again. You're so funny, Naruto-kun. Thanks, Tsukuyomi-chan, Naruto said, grinning. Suddenly, Susanoo walked into the room and sat across from Tsukuyomi, looking bored. Where have you been, Ni-san? Tsukuyomi questioned. Susanoo sighed deeply, slouching into the sofa. Just checking out the village. It's so boring, Imouto. Susanoo said, sliding out of the sofa. Why don't you bring down Kusanada? Tsukuyomi asked, making Susanoo jump out of his seat, now smiling brightly. Great idea, Imouto. Be back in a bit, he said, already dashing out of the house. What's got him so excited? Naruto asked, sitting on the sofa. He was complaining he was bored, so I suggested he bring his first wife down here. How would that stop him from being bored? And what do you mean, first wife? Naruto asked. Well, Ni-san has to have more than one wife, as there aren't many of us left. Kusanada became his wife as his reward for killing the Yamata no Orochi. The two of them are quite smitten with each other, and she is good friends with Nei-san. Tsukuyomi explained. Naruto nodded. Tsukuyomi then heard an enormous growl. She turned to where it came from, and saw Naruto sheepishly rubbing his head, blushing. Hungry? She asked, smiling lightly. Starving? You? He asked. Tsukuyomi nodded. You know any good places to eat? She asked. Naruto grinned. I know just the place. He grabbed Tsukuyomi's hand and dashed out the door with the little goddess in tow. Ichiraku's ramen bar. Tsukuyomi raised a brow at where Naruto took her to. Ramen? She asked. Yup. It's the best food in the world. Naruto proudly exclaimed. Tsukuyomi giggled. She seemed to do that a lot around Naruto. Sure, Naruto-kun. They walked into the stand and sat down at the bar. Ayame quickly dashed up. Hey, Naruto-kun. Who's this, your girlfriend? Ayame asked upon seeing Tsukuyomi. Both she and Naruto both blushed brightly. Naruto, not sure what to say, looked at Tsukuyomi. She was looking right back at him expectantly. Ayame giggled. I'm kidding, Naruto-kun. The usual? Ayame asked. Naruto nodded, breathing out a sigh of relief. And what about you? Ayame asked Tsukuyomi. Miso ramen, please, she told Ayame. Ayame nodded and headed to the back to give her father the orders. Susanoo headed to the wall around the village. He then vanished in a bolt of lightning. When he reappeared, he was no longer in Konoha. Instead, he was inside a mansion. He looked around with a small smile on his face. It's good to be home, he said to himself. He headed to the bedroom and saw a beautiful black-haired woman asleep in the bed. Susanoo grinned when she rolled onto her back. He walked over to the edge of the bed and leaned down. He moved the hair out of her face and captured her lips in a gentle kiss. The woman's eyes opened slowly, and she then closed them, wrapping her arms around Susanoo's neck. Susanoo deepened the kiss, now on top of the woman. Said woman moaned into the kiss, her hands moving around inside the upper portion of his kimono, feeling his muscles. Susanoo in turn had his hands on her breasts, fondling them. After a few more minutes of groping each other, they separated. Susanoo smiled. Morning, Haim, he said. The woman pecked his lips. Welcome back, Susanoo-kun, she said, Susanoo moving back to the edge of the bed, allowing her to sit up, revealing she was naked. Were you able to find your treasures? We found the Kusanagi. No luck on the others yet. Then why are you here? I've come for you. We've found a place we can use as a base, as well as people who can help us. The only problem is, we have to be patient. As you know, I'm not very good at that. The woman giggled, nodding her head. So, Imouto suggested I bring you down. Also, I found a human worthy of training. Kushinada's eyes widened. You found a human you deem worthy? What's so special about him? She asked. Two things. Imouto's got a crush on him, and he holds within him the Kyuubi, Susanoo replied. The Kyuubi? Isn't he one of your creations? Kushinada asked. Susanoo nodded. Yeah, but he got sealed into this boy by the boy's father to protect his village. We think we may be able to free him, or at least enable the boy to gain his powers. Kushinada nodded, then smiled. So Tsukuyomi has a crush? Susanoo grinned. You're gonna tease her, aren't you? He asked. He got a grin as his answer. Alright, then, you might want to get dressed, as much as I like seeing you naked. Kushinada got out from under the covers and headed towards the closet. Susanoo slapping her ass as she stood up. She responded by walking to the closet shaking her hips. Susanoo smirked. Tease. Kushinada came out of the closet wearing a beautiful red kimono decorated with thunder clouds. She walked over towards Susanoo and hugged him. It's really good to see you again, Koi, she said, her voice slightly muffled by his chest. He pulled her head back and kissed her forehead. Same here, Koichi. He replied, hugging her back. They vanished in a bolt of lightning. Amaterasu sighed as she walked through the village. They had already begun reconstruction of the village, so the streets were very busy. When Amaterasu walked by, though, every man on the street stopped what they were doing to stare at her. Good thing Ototo isn't here, he'd cut these guys to ribbons. She then sensed Tsukuyomi's energy at a ramen stand. Why is she there? She approached the ramen stand, and upon entering, saw her sister and Naruto talking to the man she met under the Hokage mountain. Iruka, I think. Tsukuyomi turned and saw her sister. Nei-san, what are you doing here? Tsukuyomi asked, drawing the men's attention. Iruka blushed when he saw her. I sensed your energy here, and was curious as to why you'd be here. I'm guessing Naruto's idea? Tsukuyomi nodded. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Amaterasu smiled slightly and sat down next to Iruka. Miso ramen, please. She turned towards Iruka. Iruka, yes? Why yeah. Iruka replied, blushing. Amaterasu smiled. It is nice to see you again, she said. Same here, he replied. Damn it. Stop stuttering, she's just a woman. A beautiful woman that can make you spontaneously combust. Is something wrong? Your face is red. Amaterasu noted, touching his forehead, making him turn so red it could put Hinata to shame. Tsukuyomi smiled widely seeing the two interact. She nudged Naruto lightly, bringing his attention to her. I think your sensei likes my Nei-san. Tsukuyomi whispered. What makes you think that? Naruto whispered back. Tsukuyomi rolled her eyes. Even if he isn't stupid, he's still oblivious, she thought. Your sensei's acting the way most people do around someone they really like, Tsukuyomi explained. Oh, so what should we do? Naruto asked. They then heard a crackling sound outside the stand, followed by a bright flash of light. They all looked outside and saw Susanoo walk into the stand holding the hand of a black-haired woman. Hey, guys. Naruto, this is Kushinada, my wife. Susanoo introduced. Kushinada bowed to Naruto. It is a pleasure to meet you, Naruto-san. Susanoo-kun has told me much about you. Kushinada then looked at Iruka. And who might you be? This is Iruka. Amaterasu introduced. Iruka stood up and bowed. It's a pleasure to meet you, Kushinada-sama. Iruka said formally, causing Kushinada to shake her hands at him. There is no need to be so formal with me. My status isn't as lofty as Susanoo-kun's. You're still his wife, though, Kushinada-chan. People will respect you for it, Amaterasu stated. Kushinada nodded in response. There you are, Gaki, I've been looking everywhere for you, Jiraiya said, walking into the shop. He then looked at Amaterasu, then Kushinada, and began to giggle perversely. He would have done more, but Susanoo drop-kicked him out of the shop, muttering about, damn old perverts. Naruto looked towards where the toad sage landed. Wonder what he wanted me for, he wondered aloud. Tsukuyomi jumped off of her stool and grabbed Naruto's hand. Only one way to find out, she said. The two of them headed after Jiraiya. Susanoo and Kusanada sat down on the stools that Tsukuyomi and Naruto had recently vacated. So, he your boyfriend? Susanoo asked Amaterasu, pointing at Iruka, who blushed. Not yet, Amaterasu replied. Yet? Kusanada asked. Why yet? Iruka repeated. Amaterasu smiled. I like you, Iruka-kun. You're a very kind man, and I'd like to know you better. Amaterasu stated, looking Iruka directly in the eyes. Iruka blushed harder. If your face gets any redder, your head'll explode. Susanoo commented. Kusanada elbowed him in the ribs in response. She then stood up, dragging him with her. We'll leave you two alone. Susanoo-kun is going to show me around the village. Kusanada told Amaterasu, who smiled and mouthed, thank you, to her. Kusanada smiled back and dragged her husband out of the stand, in spite of his protests. Amaterasu turned back towards Iruka, who was still blushing. Well, judging from the fact that you're still blushing, I'm guessing you have a crush on me. Amaterasu stated, causing Iruka's eyes to lock onto her. She followed her statement with a light kiss on Iruka's cheek. Lucky for you, it's mutual. She said with a smile, causing Iruka to smile back. Guess I am lucky. He responded. The new couple exited the stand after paying for their ramen. Wow, your Nii-san kicked the pervert halfway across the village. Naruto commented, looking at the unconscious Jiraiya. Tsukuyomi poked the pervert. How are we going to wake him up? She asked. Naruto grinned. Hey, Ero Sennin. Look at that girl over there, Naruto shouted into the pervert's ear, who bolted up at the mention of a girl. Where? Where? Jiraiya looked around. Tsukuyomi rolled her eyes. Is he always like this? She asked. Naruto nodded. Unfortunately, yes. What did you want to talk to me about, Ero Sennin? Naruto asked. Sensei's got a mission for you and me. A mission? Why you and me? Naruto asked. Sensei's getting older. This invasion made him realize how weak he's become, so he's retiring. The only person capable of replacing him, however, isn't in the village right now, so we're going to find her. Her? Who exactly are we going to be looking for? The last of the Sannin, Tsunade Senju, Jiraiya stated. So she's as old as you? Naruto asked. Jiraiya face faulted. I'm not old, Gaki, Jiraiya shouted. Naruto waved him off. Whatever, Ero Sennin. So when do we leave? Yeah, when do we leave? Tsukuyomi asked. Look, I know you're Naruto's friend, but I can't endanger you on this mission. Jiraiya said. Tsukuyomi raised a brow. Do you have any idea to whom you're speaking, Ninjin? Tsukuyomi questioned. Jiraiya looked confused. Tsukuyomi-chan can take care of herself, Ero Sennin. She won't need us to protect her. Besides, it's not like this mission is overly dangerous, Naruto commented. Fine, fine, whatever. Anyway, grab your gear. We're leaving as soon as possible. Meet me at the gate in 2 hours, Jiraiya said, walking off. Hey, Tsukuyomi-chan, why do you want to come with us anyway? Naruto asked. I'd be bored if you left the village without me, Naruto-kun. Besides, someone has to keep you safe, she replied, poking him in the chest. He chuckled as they headed back to his house to pack. Kusanada leaned into Susanoo as they looked at the memorial stone. They heard someone approaching behind them. They turned to see a purple-haired woman holding flowers. I'm sorry, I didn't know someone was already here. I recognize that voice, Mako-chan? Susanoo asked. Susanoo-san? Yugao asked. He nodded. Who is this, Susanoo-kun? Kusanada asked her husband. She's one of the Anbu I fought alongside during the invasion I told you about, Susanoo explained. She is quite beautiful, Kusanada stated, looking Yugao up and down. I approve. Susanoo looked down at her with a shocked face. You approve? I barely know her, he said. Not now, Susanoo-kun. Tell me, Yugao-san. Who are those flowers for? Kusanada asked. My lover, Hayate Gecko. He was killed by a Sunanin. Yugao said sadly as she laid the flowers in front of the stone. He died in the invasion? Susanoo asked. No, beforehand. He was killed because he had apparently overheard the Sunanin speaking with an agent from Otto about the invasion. Yugao explained. I'm sorry. He said. Kusanada nodded her head. It's rough, losing someone you love. But at least you're not alone. You have friends, right? Yeah. They've always been there for me, and so will we. Kusanada said with a smile. Yugao looked up at the couple. You will? We will? Susanoo asked. Kusanada looked up at her husband with the, do as I say, look. He gulped, then nodded. Yeah, sure we will. Thank you, she said. The three of them silently paid their respects to the fallen heroes of Konoha. Finally, you two ready? Jiraiya asked impatiently, seeing Naruto and Tsukuyomi approach the gate. Yeah. Let's get going, Naruto said, walking out of the village, Tsukuyomi right next to him. Jiraiya headed after the two of them. So, you have any idea where she might be? Knowing Tsunade, she'll be somewhere where there's booze and gambling, her two favorite things. Jiraiya told them. Tsukuyomi looked at Jiraiya. And just how many villages have gambling dens and bars? She asked. Most of them, Jiraiya said, but I think I know where we can start looking. My spy network reported to me before we left the village about a woman matching Tsunade's description headed towards Tanzaku town. If we're fast enough, we might catch her, Jiraiya explained. Then what are we waiting for? Lead the way, Naruto said, and the three of them took off for Tanzaku town. Fast as they were forced to stop at a hotel when nightfall hit. Tsukuyomi made Jiraiya get 2 rooms, not wanting to share with the pervert. Jiraiya got his own suite, while Naruto and Tsukuyomi shared another. Luckily, in Naruto's opinion anyway, they had separate beds. Tsukuyomi was taking a shower while Naruto was practicing a technique that Jiraiya had begun to teach him as they traveled. He was currently trying to pop a water balloon using only his chakra. He was currently having a bit of difficulty. Tsukuyomi stepped into the room wearing a robe to see Naruto struggling to pop the balloon. She walked over to the ninja. Why are you only moving the water in one direction? She asked. He looked up at her for a moment, then suddenly had a look of realization on his face. He concentrated harder on the balloon, and slowly, multiple bumps appeared on the balloon, and it burst. Naruto grinned widely and hugged the tiny goddess. Thanks for the help, Tsukuyomi-chan. You're a genius, he said, spinning her around. Said goddess was giggling at the blonde's joy. Naruto stopped spinning her around and blushed at how close they were. He quickly released her and began sputtering out apologies. Tsukuyomi put her finger to his lips to shush him. She smiled. You don't need to apologize, Naruto-kun. Besides, I liked being in your arms, she said, making Naruto blush. Tsukuyomi giggled at Naruto's expression of confusion. She leaned forward and kissed him on the cheek. Naruto turned red. Tsukuyomi-chan. I really like you, Naruto-kun. How do you feel about me? She asked the nervous blonde. I think you're the most beautiful girl I've ever met, Tsukuyomi-chan. You're smart, pretty, kind, and really strong. I really like you, too. Naruto confessed at her urging. She smiled. So what happens now? I think we should take it slow, Naruto-kun. We should go on a few dates and see where that goes, after this mission is over, of course. Naruto nodded. They heard a knocking on the door. Naruto got up and answered it, with Tsukuyomi getting dressed in the bathroom. He opened the door, expecting to see Jiraiya, but instead was met with 2 men wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them. He looked up and saw that the man in front had Sharingan. Naruto Uzumaki, you will come with us, the man stated. Naruto looked back into the room, then shut the door, surprising the 2 men. Itachi, did he seriously just do that? The fish-like man asked the Uchiha. I believe so, Kisame. Itachi clarified. The door suddenly flew open and a burst of energy sent them both back into the wall. Tsukuyomi stepped out of the room, fully dressed. She looked at the men who were standing up and frowned. "Why are you here?" Tsukuyomi questioned. "We're here for the gaki, now get out of the way," Kisame shouted, swinging his blade at her. A wall of white energy came up and blocked the blow. She dashed forward and thrusted her hand forward, sending Kisame back into the wall. Itachi engaged her in a taijutsu battle, which he was surprisingly being forced back. "She's too fast." He was sent into the wall once more in the same manner as Kisame. She glared down at the men. "It would be wise of you to leave. I will not let you capture Naruto-kun. I would rather not kill you, but I will if I must," she said, energy flowing around her. Itachi looked at her, his eyes slowly changing. "Itachi!" Sasuke shouted angrily, seeing his brother for the first time since the destruction of their clan. Itachi looked over at Sasuke, his eyes returning back to the shape of normal Sharingan. Sasuke. "Hey, Itachi, here little bro?" Kisame asked. Itachi nodded. Naruto sighed. "Just what we need, more Uchiha," Naruto commented. Tsukuyomi looked between the two brothers, and noticed a small leak of power coming from them. A leak of kami power. "How do they have our energy? Did Nei-san or Ni-san do this?" she wondered. She, Naruto, and Kisame watched as Itachi pummeled his brother before using an ability on him that shocked Tsukuyomi deeply. Itachi let his brother slide to the floor as he deactivated the Tsukuyomi genjutsu. He turned back to his partner and target, and saw the shocked look on Tsukuyomi's face. "How did you get that power?" Tsukuyomi asked, still shocked. Itachi didn't respond. He was suddenly hit in the stomach by Kisame, thrown at him by Tsukuyomi. "How did you get that power? Answer me, ninjin!" Tsukuyomi shouted, her eyes glowing white. She slowly approached them. Kisame swung his sword at her, only for the sword itself to move away from the enraged goddess. The sword left Kisami's grasp, fleeing from Tsukuyomi. "Where are you going? The power of a kami cannot be absorbed by something so inferior. As much as I dislike saying it, we are superior. No ninjin can ever attempt to match our power, even with power such as yours," Tsukuyomi explained, now holding Itachi by the throat. "You called your power the Tsukuyomi. My name is Tsukuyomi, ninjin, and you somehow possess a small portion of my power. You think that technique is so powerful. Let's see how much you like it after you experience it," Tsukuyomi shouted, sending both Itachi and Kisame into the dream realm. "Not quite as powerful without the Yata mirror, but it is more than satisfactory," Tsukuyomi said, looking upon Itachi and Kisame, who were looking around the world that Tsukuyomi had brought them into. "I thought you said that you would send us into the nightmare realm. This is not that realm, it is too serene," Itachi said. "You wield a weak and corrupt version of my power, Itachi. Your own power is insignificant compared to my own. This is the realm of dreams, where I hold absolute power. No one's will supersedes my own in this realm. In this realm, I can do anything I wish to you," Tsukuyomi explained. Suddenly, they were surrounded by multiple dead bodies. Itachi recognized them as Uchiha. They began talking to him, asking him why he did it, screaming as they were killed by him. Itachi then saw his mother, sword sticking out of her, stating that she loved him. Itachi broke down. Kisame suddenly found himself alone with Tsukuyomi in a white room. He reached for Samahata, only to find it not there. "Where are we? What did you do?" he demanded of Tsukuyomi. "This would normally be your greatest fear, regret, or evil deed. You seem to lack the conscience necessary to use this on you. Tell me, Kisame Hoshigaki, why is it you have no guilt for killing your superior and the squad you were sent to protect? This world is so corrupt. Everyone's living a lie," Kisame stated. Tsukuyomi rolled her eyes. "Typical. So typical. And here I thought you had an actual reason. But it turns out you're just another stupid ninjin," Tsukuyomi stated. Kisame began making hand signs, only to find that he couldn't sense his chakra. "What the," he said before Tsukuyomi sent him flying back. This is the realm of dreams, remember? I hold absolute power. You have no power in this realm, Ninjin. Tsukuyomi reminded. Trying to fight here is futile. Shut up! Kisame shouted, charging the tiny goddess. She instantly flipped him over onto his back. She put her foot on his throat and looked him in the eyes. You lack the conscience necessary for me to use the dream realm on you, so I guess you'll have to suffer through the nightmare realm. Tsukuyomi said before Kisame suddenly found himself in a polar opposite of where he previously was. He looked around and was suddenly slashed at by a katana. He looked up to see his attacker was actually himself. It was his old self, before he obtained Samahata. Kisame reflexively reached for Samahata, only to find that it wasn't there, a simple katana in its place. Kisame drew it anyway. Let's see if I've improved since then, Kisame shouted, charging his clone, engaging it in a brutal kenjutsu battle. Kisame was surprised, however, to find that the clone of him was keeping pace with him, even using moves he himself didn't know. That Tsukuyomi chick said that this was the nightmare realm. From what Itachi told me about it, it's up to the wielder what happens in the realm. If this chick is as good as I think she is, I'm screwed. Real-world Naruto was shocked. As soon as Tsukuyomi used that weird power on the duo that tried to capture him, the fish-looking guy had giant gashes appear all over him, while the other appeared to have a mental breakdown. Tsukuyomi looked down at the duo and returned to Naruto's side, her eyes returning to normal. Tsukuyomi-chan, what did you do to them? He asked the tiny goddess. I used one of my more powerful techniques against them. They shouldn't be getting up anytime soon. So, what should we do with them then? Allow me to handle that, Gaki. Jiraiya said behind them. As he approached the broken enemies, a plant-looking man appeared next to them. He grabbed them and the three of them disappeared into the floor. Tsukuyomi raised a brow, as did Naruto. Well, that was weird, they both commented. As strange as that was, you two need to get some sleep. We've got to get moving tomorrow morning. Jiraiya told the young couple. They all returned to their rooms to get some well-earned rest. The next day Naruto, Tsukuyomi, and Jiraiya finally reached Kanzaku town. As they were traveling, Naruto had successfully completed the second stage of the technique Jiraiya was teaching him, and was now attempting the final stage. It was a great deal harder than the first two though, and he was having little success. Jiraiya headed into a gambling den and, after a small bet, found that Tsunade was indeed still here. After checking several other gambling dens and bars, they eventually found Tsunade at a bar that also sold food. Jiraiya, what are you doing here? Tsunade asked her old teammate as the trio sat down. Who are the Gakis? You taking apprentices again? Though these don't look nearly as powerful as your last one. Come on, Tsunade Heim. Everyone pales in comparison to the Yondaime. But don't underestimate these two. The boy's powerful in his own right, and the girl is likely more powerful than the Shodown. Tsunade raised a brow. You expect me to believe a 12-year-old girl is strong enough to defeat the founder of Konoha? Tsunade said. Jiraiya nodded. Yup. Besides, she's not 12. She's much older than we are, older than Sensei, older than the Shodown. No way. That's not possible, Jiraiya. Tsunade exclaimed in disbelief. Tsukuyomi decided to speak up. Maybe not for one of your kind, but I am a higher order of being. I am Tsukuyomi, Megami of the Moon. I am immortal, but choose to remain in this form. Tsunade looked surprised, to say the least. You expect me to believe you're the Tsukuyomi? Yes. We're getting off track, here, Arrow Sennin, Naruto commented. Jiraiya nodded. Right. Tsunade, you've probably heard about Otto and Suna invading Konoha. Seeing her nod, he continued. Well, Orochimaru was behind it. He masterminded it so that he could kill Sensei. He nearly succeeded. It was only Tsukuyomi-sama and her siblings' intervention that spared the village. They saved him and killed Orochimaru, but the fight made him realize how much weaker he's become. He's planning to retire, and there's only one person who can replace him right now.
Tsunade, the village requests you return and become Konoha's Godime Hokage. Jiraiya explained. Tsunade scoffed.
You know how I feel about that title, Jiraiya. The title of Hokage is a joke. Only a fool would want the title. Tsunade rebuffed. Naruto scowled. Hey, Maitu-san laid his life down for Konoha. He was the greatest Hokage Konoha has ever seen. Naruto shouted at the woman. Tsunade's eyes widened. That's right, Tsunade. Naruto here is Minato and Kushina's son. Jiraiya announced. Tsunade's jaw dropped. I heard that he was dead, Tsunade said. Obviously I'm not. So are you going to accept the title or not? Decide quickly, please, I have training to get to. Naruto said, tapping his fingers on the table. I'm sticking by what I said. The title is a joke. Tsunade repeated. Tsukuyomi glared at her, then stood up and began to walk out of the bar. Hey, where are you going? Jiraiya asked. Back to the village. I'll probably be back with my siblings though. You're really deluding yourself if you think you have a choice in coming back to the village. The only reason you're not dubbed a missing nin is because you have Sannin travel rights, which are well within Sarutobi-san's right to revoke. Those are your options. Come back willingly or slung over Jiraiya's shoulder. Decide. Tsukuyomi stated. Naruto nodded. So you'd really be willing to fight me, Jiraiya? Tsunade asked. Jiraiya nodded. The village needs you, Tsunade, and no matter what your personal problems with the village are, you're coming back one way or another. And in spite of how strong you are, even you know that you can't defeat me, Tsunade. Jiraiya stated. Tsunade sighed. Looks like I don't have a choice. Fine, I'll come back, but I'm not accepting the title until I talk to Sensei. Tsunade stated. Jiraiya smiled and nodded. Great, we'll leave tomorrow. Naruto, you and Tsukuyomi-sama go get us rooms at a hotel. Naruto nodded and left with Tsukuyomi. I thought you weren't going to take any more apprentices, Jiraiya, Tsunade said after they left. I owe it to him. Him and his parents. Besides, the Gaki's a quick learner. He's almost got the Rasengan down, and I started teaching it to him 2 days ago. He's got his mother's chakra, and his father's skill. The Gaki's going to be the greatest ninja any of us have ever seen, Jiraiya explained. And the girl? Is she really Tsukuyomi? Yeah. Her siblings are still in Konoha, so you'll get to meet them when we get back to the village. Her sister is the one who killed Orochimaru, and she did it with almost no effort. They created the Kyuubi, Tsunade. They're much more powerful than it. If they wanted to, they could wipe out the whole village with a flick of their wrists. So, why come to Konoha then? They're looking for their weapons. Someone stole them from them. Orochimaru had the Kusanagi, and that was why he was killed. According to them, stealing from a god is punished by death. Wow, a lot's happened since I left, hasn't it? Tsunade remarked, getting a nod from Jiraiya. Now, tell me everything you know about what's happened since the girl and her siblings got down here. So Jiraiya began telling Tsunade of how the 3 gods arrived. He told her about the invasion, and Tsukuyomi's attachment to Naruto. He told her everything. It's hard to believe that what you're telling me actually happened. Believe it, Tsunade. Her siblings are no laughing matter, and neither is she, for that matter. She scares me more than you did when we were teammates, Jiraiya said seriously. Now that's hard to believe, Jiraiya. But I guess I'll take your word for it. It's getting late. We'd better rest up. Got a big day tomorrow, huh? She said. Jiraiya nodded. Jiraiya went after the 2 children while Tsunade and Shizune headed to their own hotel room. As Jiraiya passed Naruto and Tsukuyomi's room, he peeked inside and saw them both asleep on Naruto's bed, cuddled close together. He smiled and headed to his own room to get some rest. So the Gaki's got himself a girlfriend. Kami knows he deserves happiness, Jiraiya thought before he quickly fell asleep.